safe to use sanitizer before you use it?
Is that a dumb question?
Was that a stupid question? Was that a stupid question? Wait, don't answer that.
Come to y'all, there are no stupid questions, and today's show is all about giving you the information you need without all the embarrassment. This is an email from Carol in Salt Lake City, Utah. She writes, I recently heard in the news that there is a brain-eating amoeba in neti pots. Is this actually true, and should I be worried? Well, this counts as not a stupid question. This did make the news recently. Take a look.
This little blue pot looks like something that would brew tea, but according to Louisiana health regulators, 2 people there died after using tap water that was infected with the amoeba Nagliera fowleri. The parasite penetrates the thin bone that's between your sinuses and your brain, causing an infection.
And then you get meningitis and meningoencephalitis and basically a brain infection that's lethal. Tap water is safe to drink, but it's not really safe to use in these.
So let's get the scary stuff out of the way first. These cases occurred in Louisiana. The Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals is warning people against improper use of neti pots. So, this Nagliera fowleri is very uncommon. Between the years of 2001 and 2010, there were, I believe, 31 reported deaths from it. So it's so...
Not from pots, usually from a recreational water source.
But I want to talk briefly about what this amoeba is. Again, we are very lucky that this is so rare because it is scary. And let's get the scary part out of the way. What does this amoeba do? Well, as mentioned in that piece, it tends to enter your brain through your nasal passages. So you're swimming in a warm water lake that maybe has this amoeba in it. In this rare instance where they had the tap water that had the amoeba in it, it can enter into your brain and it causes something called a meningoencephalitis. And what can happen to you if you're infected, usually 1 to 7 days after your infection, you start to get headache, confusion, neck stiffness, nausea, vomiting, fevers. It's very similar to when we talked on the show before about meningitis, because it is an infection of your brain, and in this unique circumstance, it's actually an amoeba. What's scary is that it's very deadly.
Yes, and you can get it from swimming.
You can, but we're not telling people to stop swimming. We're not telling people to stop.
Like you said, in the last 10 years, in the millions of people that swim in lakes, 31, 32 cases. That's it. It's really, really rare. But the amoeba is not in the neti pot. It's not the pot's fault at all. It's the water. So you got to make sure you use the right water. You don't want to just use tap water. You got to make sure it's sterilized water, purified water, distilled water, and
so use your neti pot with lukewarm, distilled, sterile, or previously boiled water.
Right.
Obviously, do not use hot or boiling water. Right. Having said that, I don't want people to feel like if they've used tap water that all the tap water in this country has this amoeba in it. Right. We don't know why these particular people had the amoeba in their home's tap water. We don't know. Luckily, we were hoping this is a very uncommon scenario. So use sterilized water, and when you do that, we all say, neti on, brothers.
You bet.
Shall we?
We're going to show you just how safe it is.
I'm with you in spirit.
Because we all love doing this because it's just so refreshing.
We're going to turn you into a neti aficionado here pretty soon.
All right, there we go, guys.
All right, that feels good.
There you go.
And it helps if you talk while you're doing it.
That's right. Otherwise it goes down.
You see how much clearer my sinuses are over here? Look at that action. You see how good that is? I got some good at that.
But ladies, you don't know that what they're doing is a nasal douche and they don't realize it.
Better than an orgasm. Well, it's a nasal orgasm.
So you don't want to use just tap water. Use only with lukewarm, distilled, sterile, or previously boiled water. And obviously don't use hot or boiling water when you do it. And then let your neti pot dry out after each use just to make sure there's no buildup of germs in your neti pot. Let's move on. Our next topic is something you may need to think about before you get behind the wheel, and it's not what you expect.
A new research study out of Britain claims driving with a bad cold can be every bit as dangerous as driving drunk.
You grab that Kleenex, wipe your eyes, wipe your nose, whatever you have to do. It's taking your attention away, just like you would be if you had too many beers and got behind a wheel.
Researchers believe drivers with bad colds and the flu are causing thousands of accidents a year.
Joining us via phone is Nigel Lacey, a rep from the insurance company who apparently conducted a study looking at the effects of driving with the cold and the flu. And is it true that in your studies, for some people, it's the equivalent of having 4 shots of whiskey?
The results due to the poor reaction times are identical. In the UK, the research sort of went a little bit further. It sort of tried to calculate back the number of accidents that happened as a result of colds and flu, and they came up with a sort of an eye-popping figure of 125,000 accidents in a year, which is a lot of accidents.
I think what I'm hearing is that we need to acknowledge that you're not necessarily going to be at your mental best if you have a cold.
But 4 shots of whiskey, that's a heck of a cold.
That is a heck of a cold. But think about it, sometimes you're really out of it.
No, you are.
Especially, if you're too sick to go to work, maybe you're too sick to drive.
Again, I think we're talking about driving impaired, whether it's texting on your phone, being sick, drinking. Just don't do it.
And also, I would say that we all know that there's a difference between a mild cold, where there's just the annoying sniffles and congestion, and when you have a full-on episode of the flu with fever, headaches, and you just don't think right, and you don't even sound as though you're making sense. That's probably the time you don't want to get behind the wheel.
Here in LA, where traffic is heavy, it's scary when you feel a sneeze coming on. And you're going to sneeze and close your eyes, and you're like, whoa, what?
Trying to take your eyes off.
It is a little scary.
Nigel, thank you so much for joining us.
Please, be a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
I can't come into work because I can't drive because I got a cold. Sorry.
If you're that sick.
And maybe the takeaway, it's not illegal to drive if you're ill, but be safe. If you are feeling ill and you're driving, pay extra attention. And of course, prevention measures. Avoid it in the first place. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face.
Don't use your neti pot while you're driving.
Let's move on, because before the show, we asked you in the audience to write down some of your questions, and we said no holds barred. So we're going to answer one right now and more throughout the show. I'm going to go ahead and move the whiskey because I don't want you all to think that I was drinking.
Push it down here.
Because I wasn't.
Pass it down.
That's for after the show. So, no question is a stupid question. Oh my goodness. Here, you grab them.
That's kind of cool.
I like that, Chet.
How long is too long for bronchitis?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Bronchitis, what happens is you get inflammation of the upper airways. And that inflammation can have you coughing sometimes for a week, 2 weeks, or more after the illness. The infection is resolved.
It's almost like a little mini case of temporary asthma. But here's one of my pet peeves. I don't know how many times I've got a phone call. I've got bronchitis, I need the antibiotics. Most people think bronchitis equals antibiotics, but bronchitis is almost always a virus.
And so in that case, bronchitis doesn't mean antibiotics. But Dr. Roy, I love it when we talked about this before, and you talk about post-nasal drip. How it gets in the airways. It irritates the lining of your respiratory tract. That's what causes this bronchitis, this inflammation.
Because it goes down.
Exactly. So what you're trying to treat is the inflammation, not necessarily the infection, because almost always bronchitis, unless you have underlying pulmonary disease, will resolve on its own. But sometimes what will benefit you is an anti-inflammatory. Sometimes people, if it just goes on, you may go see your doctor. Your doctor may prescribe some steroids for a brief period of time.
Right. A lot of people don't understand. There is a difference between infection and inflammation. And people think it's one and the same, but it's not.
And the one thing I will say is bronchitis or reactive airway disease. If you're 2+ weeks out and you have other symptoms, then we start to worry about pneumonia. If you're having fever, we talked before, if you're having these other symptoms of just, you don't feel good. If all you have is reactive airway disease because of an illness and bronchitis, you're going to feel pretty good. You're just going to keep coughing. You're just going to cough, cough, cough. We need to tamp down that inflammation. But I'll tell you, you always talk about this. If you have fever and these other things, then maybe you do need an antibiotic because it could be a pneumonia. Well, more of your questions to come, and coming up, what time of day are women most aroused?
Ooh, I want to know this. I'm writing this down.
Are you
I will set you straight.
Are you feeling aroused right now? Because this will help me out a little bit.
Oh, you're gonna make us wait? You're gonna make us wait for the answer?
Did you feel aroused when we were nutty potty?
Oh, that was so sexy. I mean,
push your buttons, baby.
Well, you're gonna be surprised by the answer after the break.
So this might sound like a stupid question, but how can I get sensitivity back to my nipple?
That was a stupid question, right?
And later.
Okay, so I got a dumb question. When are women the most sexually aroused?
I'm gonna set you guys straight today. I promise you.
The doctors go all out to find out in What's in It for Me February. Let Valentine's Day with the doctors take Valentine's night to a whole new level. With expert tips from sexpert Dr. Ruth.
I can see any body of your audience. I know who is sexually satisfied and who is not.
What if I told you kissing not only feels great, but it can help you burn calories?
Just how many calories? We put it to the test. Then, this is your brain on love.
Dopamine's flooding your brain with feel-good chemicals.
And this is your brain on orgasm.
Same area of the brain that responds to pain.
How this new study will give everyone the ability to reach the big O. Plus, Suzanne Summers makes medical history.
I was able to, 4 months ago, regrow my breast, taken by breast cancer.
Then, cold and flu season is back with a vengeance. So before you try and treat it,
none of those medicines are treating the cold virus.
Learn how to beat it. The doctors reveal the secrets to never getting sick.
Well, dirt is actually great for the immune system, believe it or not.
And so are push-ups.
All right, keep it up, keep it up.
From the food that's a natural antibiotic.
So I want you to take a spoonful.
To the treat that can fight a virus.
First time ever on national television.
The do's, the don'ts. Don't miss our 29 days of takeaway TV with the doctors. What's in it for me?
Okay. The song by Paul Beckman, Paul Amble song, created February 10th, 2012, Friday, using the guitar chords C, D minor 7, and G7. This song is going to be called Can Kissing Help You Lose Calories? Well, can kissing help you lose calories? Can it now? Can kissing help you lose calories? Oh, I would like to see. So I'm gonna be watching, tuning in and watching the doctors. I'm gonna see if kissing can lose calories, burn calories.